Welcome to episode 10, and we are going to cover the Rockies.
When you suggested we do the Rockies, I was like, it's been done to death.
It has been done to death, but you know what? It's a classic franchise, and it really, really deserves just like people knowing that they need to go watch it, and that's what this channel is all about.
Yeah. I get frustrated when people haven't seen the Rockies, and
exactly my point. That's why I really wanted to cover these, because they're just classics. You know, Rocky 1 is an up and coming boxer. His trainer thinks he's good enough to go for the championship title. It's against Carl Weathers, playing Apollo Creed, who is the reigning champion at the time. And the fight ends with a loss for Rocky.
Yeah, it's not to spoil it, but...
you were telling me recently, though, about a story about Stallone. And he wrote them all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe not Rocky Balboa, but
I did.
He did, okay. But he could not get funding for the script for this.
No, and he was broke, and like really, really broke. So much so that he sold his dog, his beloved dog, just so he could afford to pay his rent. And the thing about you have to respect with Sylvester Stallone's character is that he was offered huge sums of money to sell the script, but not to
star
be in it. Yeah, they wanted somebody else.
He was adamant that he wanted to star as Rocky, though.
Yeah, so you see the interviews with him. You can go watch the interviews, and he was offered 100 grand, and 150 and 200 grand. Imagine being that broke,
which is a lot of money back in the 80s.
Yeah, and just refusing to give up on his principles because he knew that this would make him a star, not to release it. But the original Rocky is interestingly, it's heavily a love story,
Yeah.
And between him and Adrian.
Well, I did.
Adrian did it anyway. So yeah, it relies heavy on that, and so the boxing is obviously important to the factor of it, but there was a lot of heart going on there between us, which drives on to Rocky 2 then, which is also Apollo Creed.
Yeah, which is the rematch, which is him wanting to redeem himself as a boxer and going for a title fight against Apollo Creed again. Apollo Creed in the movie didn't really want to take the fight because he was like, no, I beat you once, I don't need to fight you again, but ends up taking the fight. And this is where we end up seeing Rocky then becoming the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And more in terms of the love story, because I think they get married then at that point. And does she have first baby in number 2?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
But it ends in a draw then between the two of them, or is that the first one?
No, what you're thinking of is then the second one, they become friends and they go into a boxing ring at the end at the movie, and
it goes ding ding. But it ended with a draw. They're fighting the second one. It's a draw. Hold on, I need to check.
No, it's a 2 wins, and then they were like, right, Ryan, this is the third match privately, and they sit in the private gym, and Apollo famously goes ding ding, and then the movie ends with their fists about to hit each other's faces.
Yeah,
which is the third fight, the decider fight.
Okay.
So we never know who the ultimate winner is because Rocky lost in the first one, Creed lost in the second one, and at the end of the second movie, we don't see the fight because it ends and then goes to credits.
The third movie, which is Mr. T, Clubber Lang, loves that movie.
Yeah. Mr. T was an actor who was massive in the 80s, famously in 18 TV show.
Yeah.
But
and a bare knuckle fighter himself, so he knew how to throw down. And this is where it kind of got into the more cheesier Rocky,
Yeah, it went cheesier,
yeah. But, like plenty of montages and the training montage.
The training montage is obviously famous because it's in a lot of like reels you see nowadays, why millennial men want to be, muscly and buff. It's because of these movies from the 80s, like, and that scene is used a lot where they're running up the beach and they're sprinting and they have the crop tops.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes no sense nowadays in terms of fashion, but
it was great because Clubber Lang became the antithesis to Rocky, and Rocky, then the fame started going to his head. He started slacking off on the training, and but Mr. T was the hungry one, and Rocky kind of lost his hunger. He kind of phoned it in, and the whole relationship with his trainer getting frustrated because he wasn't training, and the cameras being in when he was training and showboat, and then Mickey just wanted to go back to the raw egg drinking, Rocky that we saw before. So, fun movie.
Fun movie. The third one's a good one.
Yeah.
And then brings on to the fourth one where we were introduced to Dolph Lundgren.
My favorite Rocky.
Yeah, it's so cheesy.
It's like Russia against America. It's like, you know.
And like not long after the Cold War.
Yeah.
So there was still that kind of tension as well between the United States and Russia. So it was quite on the nose.
American patriotism, you know.
And the fight takes place in Russia. We see like the montages going on in the movie where it's Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren's character, is being trained by technology and like
steroids
and all this. And Rocky goes back to basics and he's just training with like hitting tires with hammers and just full on like
running through the snow and outside and pulling
beard.
Yeah. That's how, you know, it is cheesy as hell, but he gets his hunger back. But the reason why he's fighting in the first place is because why?
Oh yeah, Dolph Lundgren's character kills Creed in a fight that Apollo probably shouldn't have took because he was kind of past his prime, and even Rocky kind of warned him not to take the fight in the early part of the movie. And then this is like a revenge type style fight that he takes and agrees to it to be in Russia.
He makes them promise not to throw the towel in no matter what happens, and then it's the regret of not throwing it in, you know.
But the good thing about that fight was that Rocky used Ivan's strength against him and made him keep hitting him, and he kept walking back into the middle of the ring and let him hit him again until he was tired, and then Rocky then switched on and then started taking the hits and chunks out of him, and that's how he won the fight, because you're not going to be able to beat somebody who's bigger and stronger unless they're weakened.
Then.
So that was the kind of moral to that.
Can we also mention the Hulk Hogan cameo matchup?
I completely forgot Hulk Hogan was in that. Like,
but that's Rocky 3 though, isn't it?
Is that the one with the double line?
Yeah, like that's how it starts off to show that he's gone shoulders.
But the fact that Hulk Hogan was in the Rocky movie is mental anyway.
And then he starts like Hulk Hogan starts properly trying to kill him, and then he's all laughing at the end. Like, so yeah, what a cameo. But yeah, sorry, Rocky 4 is my favorite. I rewatched that movie so many times as a kid. I just love, and it's, you know, the passion of the underdog, basically, you know, and then winning over the crowd. You know, they're booing him, and then
that's the whole thing about Rocky from start to finish.
Underdog.
He's always the underdog.
Yeah,
he's always one that's never expected to win. You know.
Yeah.
It's very much an underdog story.
Which kind of ties into him writing the script and being the underdog, that, you know, he never thought that he would get it sold or they would hire him. So it kind of ties into, he was probably writing from a place of that he felt like the underdog in the film world, you know. Yeah.
That brings us on to Rocky 5, which wasn't critically acclaimed.
No, it was hated, but I rewatched it loads of times. I
watched it twice.
Yeah.
I think
Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn, famously ends with so he becomes like this mentor to this young up and coming fighter. He's a bit big headed, a bit full of himself in terms of how good of a fighter he is, and he becomes world champion, I think.
I think so.
He's prior to his last match or final match, and then he gets into a tiff with Rocky, and it ends with like a street fight basically, and it's quite a cheesy street fight. But
and like there's a character in it that's meant to be Don King, but it's not Don King, you know. It's so Don King. The actor who played Tommy Gunn is dead. He died very early. Yeah.
Oh, that's probably why we didn't see him.
A lot of problems. But yeah, I suppose it's like it's the passing over of the reins, and then, you know, not feeling appreciated when you do that, and all that stuff. But yeah, it was cheesy, didn't do well, but I still watched it a lot.
Yeah,
it was good. Which then brings us on many years later then to Rocky Balboa, which a lot of people didn't see coming. You know, there was such a long gap, and Rocky was kind of done. And this one it kind of brought back the emotional heart that the first two had.
Yes,
you know,
big time.
You see it beaten down. Rocky.
Yeah, his relationship with his son has disheveled. His wife has since died. He goes to her grave daily and sits and talks to her, and it's kind of like this man who used to be famous, and he has his like Italian restaurant, and like the only people that come to the restaurant kind of know him as Rocky, but he's a forgotten champ.
And there's the famous monologue that he says to his son, you know, and he's fighting with his son, and it's like, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit, it's about how you can keep getting hit and keep moving forward, you know. It's so
that monologue's amazing actually.
It's been used a lot in like, well, from my side, from acting classes and stuff like that. Really? It's quite powerful, but yeah, it brought back the emotional heart. I wasn't mad about the fighting though. It kind of got away from the
Rocky
away
from the realistic style of
the
original Rockies, I think.
Just lost its...
So the synopsis is basically like a computer-generated fight between the current champ was played, and the prime Rocky versus the current champ, and the prime Rocky beats him. So then this whole campaign goes on to get Rocky to come out of retirement to fight the current champ. Now, he doesn't win, and then it ends basically with Rocky feeling good about himself because he's trained for this fight. He's shown that he can still have it. But, he knows he's not in his prime anymore. So it's kind of like, the old dog. Never give up on the old dog.
Yeah. So, yeah, that...
No?
I don't know. I mean, it's like... You can't teach a dog new tricks. It's the same. I don't know. Don't give up on the old dog.
So after we had Rocky Balboa, then they come out, Michael B. Jordan came out with Creed, which he did appear in the first one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah. And then it was Apollo Creed's son, and the whole story about him training Apollo Creed's son, and development from him becoming from nobody, and the son of past champion, then becoming the champion, and then it carried on Apollo 2, Apollo 3, but yeah, the franchise is as whole, it's great. Like it's a really well told story of an underdog, and he just travels through life one battle at a time, and it is truly a great arc.
Yeah, because it's very easy for people who haven't seen it or dipped into one or two and being like, it's crap, like if you actually watch it from the first one through, there is actually like a really good arc, like there's really good storytelling in it, even though there's a cheese element of it,
Yeah, you can see Stallone's like train of thought, like I'm going to start here, and it's nearly like he had it planned out.
Yeah.
In bits and pieces, but like it wasn't able to be fully fleshed out until time kind of developed.
Yeah, and the fighting choreography,
especially in the first four,
the amount of effort Rocky like put into it, and he choreographed a lot of it. You know,
he choreographed the ones for Apollo 1 as well.
Yeah, and you see
Creed,
them.
Creed 1.
You see them training and him like going through it, and famously, Carl Weathers even got like a full force punch from Dolph Lundgren when they were going through that, and he walked off. It got to that stage where you can imagine the amount of testosterone and how
a lot of testosterone was floating around when those three people were in one set.
And like Stallone himself, he kind of encouraged him to, not fully hit, but to full contact with it, because he wanted it to look so real, and it pays off because it does look good, so yeah, look, it's I've binged them,
so many times,
like just watched it over the course of a week or 2 weeks, and it's always an enjoyable experience to go back to.
Yeah. They are really just kind of just sit back and relax. Like they're not too overly grossing in terms of trying to bring on and have to follow a story arc. But like if you haven't watched the Rocky franchise, we would highly recommend it. It's definitely one of those amazing classics that is a must watch.
I just think it gives you motivation then as a human being that you can overcome. If you put your mind
to
it.
Like monologues.
And just the passion, and it makes you feel like, okay, well, if he can accomplish it, I can accomplish it.
Exactly.
It's that kind of feeling that gives you, and they
more make like life advice.
Make you quite emotional at times.
Yeah, they do.
So go check out the Rockies.